Today, we're going to take a look at what's in my camera bag for my landscape photography. We'll look at the gear, we'll talk about why it warrants a spot in my camera bag after all these years of landscape photography and workshops. So I was planning this week's video, I was thinking, I think I want to do a what's in my camera bag video because I think it's been a while since I've done one. And I enjoy seeing what's in other people's camera bags. You always find some new accessory or some new way of packing something, or just something that is an interesting find that maybe I should carry something like that, or just see how other people are doing it. So I always find them interesting. I know they're not everybody's thing, and that's okay, but I wanted to do one. But anyway, so as I started preparing for the video, I was like, when was the last time I did a what's in my camera bag video? I started looking through my old videos, and I did some searches. I'm like, I don't think I've actually done a video on what's in my camera bag. Now, I did do a video on flying with camera gear where I talked about what goes in my bag for when I fly, but I really hadn't done one of what my normal carry is or anything like that, much less one that's been recent. So I was like, well, this is going to be a great time to remedy that and get a what's in my camera bag video. And at this point, my loadout has been pretty standardized. I'm pretty happy with what I've got. I've learned some things over the years of what makes the cut, what doesn't make the cut, and how to keep the bag flexible, because sometimes I will change on the fly depending on if I'm doing a hard hike, short hike, staying near the car, and any number of things like that. Now, I am going to try to keep this video from just being a gear list, but obviously we're going to be talking about lots of gear and be showing lots of gear as I go through this bag. But I do also want to try to make at least a comment or two about why something makes the cut, why I like it, and why I have it in the bag. So we'll cover all of that. Now, with that said, most of the stuff in here I've been using long enough that I probably already have a YouTube video on that specific gear. So for example, the camera bodies, the lenses, the filters, all of those things, I have videos that go more in depth about that. So in this video, in order to keep it short, we're going to look at the piece of gear. We'll talk about why it makes the cut, why I like it, some of the highlights of it. But if you're like, I really want to know more, or if you want to know the full pros and cons list of certain things, I will link to several videos down below in the description, or if you want to see more about a specific piece of gear that I pull out of this bag today, you can watch one of those videos and get my full in-depth take on that particular piece of gear, and hopefully that'll be helpful. If for some reason there is something in here that I don't have a video on and you notice that, by all means drop a comment below. I'd be happy to do a video on a specific piece of gear or a collection of gear and go from there. We are going to talk about the camera bag itself. I'm going to talk about the tripod that goes on the bag. It's not here right now, but I've got it back here behind me that we'll take a look at. And then we'll set the bag over here to the side and we'll start pulling gear out of it and see what I carry and talk about why it makes the cut. So let's start with the camera bag itself. This is sort of the anchor system of everything that goes with me out in the field. I do use Shimoto design bags. I've done several videos on Shimoto bags. I've been very happy with them. They've always served me well. My first bag was a Shimoto design Explorer V2 35 liter bag, and I still use that bag if I'm flying. It's 35 liters, a little smaller, forces me to be a little more compact, and it works really great for taking onto a plane. I can still put my travel tripod on it and things like that. But for regional work or anytime I'm driving, this tends to be my go-to bag for a couple reasons. This is the Shimoto Designs Action X50 V2. It is a 50 liter bag, so it's pretty big, but it works well for when I'm traveling regionally or when I have my Forerunner with me. The size isn't too big a deal. And the reason I like the slightly larger size is it has this flex roll top up here at the top. I go in depth in one of my Shimoto videos, but it lets me stuff winter jackets in there if I want. It's sort of flex space. It lets me put, I can carry all sorts of extra things in there. And in the cold weather and things like that, it's handy for me. When I'm leading workshops, a lot of times I'll take some extra stuff along, a little bigger first aid kit, lots of snacks and things like that. Or if I even need to just carry something for somebody, I've got extra flex space up here that I can fit it in there. So it works out really well for that. The Shimoto design bag carries nicely. It's got nice shoulder straps on it. It's got a nice beefy waist belt on it to help carry the load. You want to get as much load on the hips as you can. I like this water bottle pocket here. I have a small 16-ounce water bottle, the Nalgene water bottle that fits right in here. Makes it super easy to stay hydrated because it's right there, easy to access. You don't have to put the bag down to get to it or anything like that. Got a little accessory pocket over here. You can put a phone in there. I've got like a little business card holder in there. Lots of webbing to clip things to. I have my Garmin InReach on there. This is another device that I carry with me, my Garmin InReach Mini 2. I'm able to clip that on there. It works out well. Has water bottle and tripod pockets on the side. I like to carry my tripods on the outside of the bag because I do the video and YouTube stuff out in the field. Sometimes it's nice to be able to, these pockets are big enough to put 2 tripods in, or at least my main tripod and a video tripod, or I can carry another tripod over here, or an extra water bottle if I'm going on a longer hike, and this little smaller 16-ounce water bottle isn't enough. I've got a spot to put a larger water bottle over here. So that works out well. So I like all the pockets. I like all the features that it has for that. When you're doing outdoor hiking, it's important that a camera bag have those hiking features with it too, in addition to the ability to camera equipment, and this bag meets that. Another small little feature, it's got the accessory straps that comes with it. These are just super, super handy examples of when I would use it. If it's raining a lot and then it stops raining and I just want to shed my rain jacket, I can use this, loop it through, and I can put my jacket there. Just recently in the Smokies, I was doing some stream stuff. I was able to easily put my Keen sandals on here. And then once I switched into my Keen sandals with my water socks, I could actually attach my hiking boots to here. So I could hike out with my hiking boots on my bag. So these flex straps just make it so nice. I've attached snowshoes to the bags before. It's just super handy to have that flexibility when you're out there doing things, to have places to put things. So like that a lot about the bag. What other key features? We talked about the flex space. Inside, I do use the, let's flip this around here so it'll be a little easier. Oh, this is always an important note. I mentioned that the videos I dedicate to this, but lots of handles. It's got a handle up here. It's got a handle down here at the bottom. It's got this side handle, which is surprisingly helpful in certain situations to be able to grab it by the side and carry it. So super handy. I love all the options on it. Like I said, I've got an in-depth video on this bag and my other Shimoto bags, so I don't want to belabor the point too much. But let's talk a little bit about the other feature. Shimoto bags have various camera cube sizes that you can put inside. Core units, I think they want them called. And in this particular bag, I used the large core unit. And I actually have a large core unit, a medium, and a small. And in my Explorer 35 liter, I tend to use the medium in there. And this one, I like to use the large. And the biggest reason I like the large, there's two reasons. One, I went with the large because I can actually take a camera body and my 100 to 400 millimeter lens and fit it in there with it attached. I have to sort of reposition some of the barriers, but it works that way. That was one of the big reasons, though in all reality, I don't use it that way that often. But the other thing too is because of the YouTube channel, the various video gear, audio gear, things like that, I just have lots of little pockets. And then finally, for workshops, I tend to have my own set of Maven filters with me. And I also have a demo set of Maven filters that I take with me so that people in workshops can try them out, try out the magnetic filters, see how they work. And I like to have the extra room for those. So right now, I'm not going to be maximized of all my space, but I like the flexibility to get things in the core unit. So I use the large core unit in this particular bag. So yeah, so that's pretty much how I have the bag set up. Again, I've got videos on this bag that go in depth with all the little features and what I like and what I don't like and everything like that. Before we go into what's in the bag, I'm going to zip this up real quick so I don't drop anything. And let's talk tripod. I mentioned the pockets on the side so I can carry my tripod. My main tripod is this guy right here. This is an FLM CP30 L4. It's a very tall tripod. Again, done videos on FLM products and why I like them and how this tripod's been. I can't recommend FLM products enough. They are just great. They really, really hit the quality to price ratio just about perfect. They're not the cheapest thing out there, but they're not the most expensive, but the level of quality is rivals the super expensive guys. Just recently talked about this Leofoto geared head. It's the G4 Pro. And this is pretty much my standard setup. I do carry a spare tripod, a CP30 S4 that usually stays in a 4Runner just in case something happens to this for some odd reason. Lessons learned from a trip to the Smokies last year. But this is it. And then it just fits right here in one of the pockets, one of the straps here. And that's how I carry the tripod. So like I said, great tripod, super happy with it. And it is my standard carry for that. Let's get this guy opened up. Get it sort of out of the way. Okay, so we got this over here. Let's get into the camera bodies first. I tend to carry 2 camera bodies out into the field. That's my standard. That's what I'm going to default to is 2 camera bodies. Couple reasons. One, if I've traveled any real distance at all, I want a backup camera body. I would hate to get somewhere and find out that my main camera body wasn't working and then I couldn't get any pictures. So I tend to carry 2 camera bodies. The other reason I like 2 camera bodies is what a lot of times what I like to do is I'll be doing a traditional sunrise, sunset location, and I'll have my one camera up on a tripod. I'll have it all set up, and I will want to still photograph with my other one without having to move my main camera. So I like to have a second body because I can put another lens on it, and I can do some handheld shots all around. And I've actually walked away from a lot of sunrises, sunsets where my favorite pictures were not the sunrise, sunset, but the images I took with the secondary body. So I do carry 2 camera bodies. This main one is my Nikon Z7 II. I've done many videos on this camera body. I think it is one of the best Nikon cameras that you can get for landscape photography. The price point is getting incredibly attractive as it becomes an older model camera. and it's still a 45 megapixel camera, and it just works great. I do use three-legged thing L brackets, so I can have an L bracket on it. Works out really well for that. I have things I'd like to see improved with this camera, of course, but again, I've got full videos on diving into that, but the Nikon Z7 II is my main camera body and always finds a home in my pack. So I've got that. My secondary camera body switched, earlier this summer, late spring, something like that. And I upgraded my Nikon Z6 II to a Nikon Z5 II. Now that may seem weird, Z6, Z5, you'd think the Z5 and it's good, but the model Z5 II is newer than the Z6 II, of course. And the Z5 II is really sort of their entry-level full-frame camera. Gives it an affordable price point to get into, but it came with their XPEED 7 processor, which means it tapped into some of the faster autofocus, low-light autofocus, with very few cons, really. So in order to sort of keep up, especially with the YouTube channel, I like to be semi-current in the Nikon world. I've been protesting against the Nikon Z8. I've done videos on why I haven't moved to it and why I wish Nikon would come up with a Z7 II replacement for landscape photographers. But in order to keep up, I thought the Z5 II would be a great way to get some hands-on time with essentially the entry-level full-frame camera, though it punches way above its weight class for that. Been super happy with this. This one tends to get used when I'm shooting handheld. It's got great in-body image stabilization. It's like noticeably good in my opinion. And so far I've had it, I think late spring is when I got it. I got it within a month or so of it coming out, I think. And I've used it a lot in the Smokies. Just this most recent trip, I had about 4.5 days of rain, and this thing took it like a champ. It was out there getting just as wet as my Nikon Z5 II was, and it was great. But again, it doesn't really matter what camera you go with. I go with Nikon because I like the way they feel, and it's really just sort of what I've always used, and I haven't felt a great need to change or anything like that. But these are the cameras I go with. For camera bodies, I always recommend going with what feels good in your hand. So let's take that to the lenses. Obviously, I have this one attached. We'll get to it. This is my wide lens. So what we've got here is my Nikon 14 to 30 millimeter lens. This is my wide lens. It's what I went with. I chose it over the 14 to 24. One, because I didn't really need the weight of the 14 to 24 2.8. Two, I like the filter size on the 14 to 30 better. It helps keep things smaller. I don't have to have big funky contraptions. And I just like the size and weight of this. So I use the Nikon 14 to 30. It usually has a place in my pack. I had the 24 to 120 attached to the Z7 II. This is a great flexible lens. It can also act as my one lens. So if I'm out and traveling, if I want to only take one lens out, the 24 to 120 can work really good. It's a very versatile lens. I'll already have it with me, and it just adds to the flexibility. The image quality on it's great, and it makes for a great mid-range zoom. I also like 24 to 120 keeps me from having to switch lenses a lot. So like if you're in a 24-70, so often you end up in that 80-85 millimeter range or something like that. With a 24 to 120, it just sort of helps reduce the lens swaps a little bit when you're in that middle range. And of course, talked about this lens before. I have the Nikon 100 to 400 millimeter lens. This is my super telephoto. This is a great lens. I've done videos on all of these lenses. So if you want to see more about pros, cons, what I think, you can check out those links down in the description below. Essentially, this setup, this is my normal standard carry setup. Gives me everything from 14 millimeters to 400 millimeters across the three lenses. So works really well for me. If there was anything I was to add to this, it would probably be a 1.4x teleconverter. That would get me just a little bit more reach out of this lens right here, which is handy, especially out west when I'm in places like Death Valley, where I'd really, could I get just a little bit more reach? That teleconverter would help. I don't own one yet though, but that's probably the only real thing I'd add to this list. Otherwise, this has been my standard holy trinity of lenses for a while. F4 lenses, I'm a believer that I'm really not going to use 2.8 in the field. I use 2.8 for my portrait stuff that I do every once in a while, but for my landscape, the F4 range works out really well. So those are my lenses. Let's get these put back in the bag. Okay, next up, we've got lens filters. You've probably already picked up, anyone that watches my channel anytime over the past year and a half, 2 years, 2.5 years, know that I'm a Maven filter user. I've tried all sorts of different filters. I started with screw-in filters, got frustrated with the threaded filters because they'd get stuck on things, had to carry filter wrenches with me. Did a round of case filters for a while and shot their Wolverines and their Revolutions. And then finally switched to Maven filters, and they've been really, really great filters to me. Let's see, how should we talk about this. So let's first talk about how I carry them. As you can see, I have them just sort of as a stack, super small, super light. And the way I do that is I have a Maven back cap, which is something we ordered. It magnetizes to that side. And then I've got a lens cap over on this side. And so you can protect your filters and have them stacked like this. The reason I like this is because it's very space efficient. My other ways of carrying it are these cool plastic cases, which isn't bad. Gives a nice protection if you're worried about the extra protection. These can work really well. In fact, this is how I used to carry them for quite a while. And then I've also played with carrying them in one of the cloth cases. What I do like about the cloth case is I can click a carabiner to it, clip it to my belt, have my filters right there close to me. But in the interest of space savings, I sort of switched to this back cap with a thing because it just easily fits into a pocket, much easier than some of those other cases. It's pretty easy to grab the filter you want. You can just separate it, put this one on the end of the lens, and you're good to go. This is probably close to my standard carry of filters. So what I have here is I have a CPL filter, a linear polarizing filter. I have the LPL plus diffusion filter, gives it just a little bit of a soft glow to it. I've been really impressed with that filter, especially for my waterfall photography. I've got a series of ND filters in here, and then I have their dark CPL filters, which is where it takes an ND filter and combines it with a circular polarizing filter, so it's all in one. Super handy for situations where you don't want to stack filters because maybe it would vignette, or maybe you just don't want to deal with stacked filters. I actually used the dark CPL a fair amount out in the Smokies. The 3-stop dark CPL worked well. What else to say about filters? Yeah, great set of filters. I've done tons of Maven videos on my channel. I'll link to some of those down below, but it's color coding makes it super easy to see which filter is where. I have a habit of leaving them on the end of the lenses. For example, I was wondering where my 3-stop dark CPL filter was. It's easy to see. It's still right there on my 14-30. So easy to find it when you do what I do and leave it on the wrong, or leave it on a lens instead of putting away like you should, and then just grabbing the right filter when you want it. It's just super easy once you get the color coding. And unlike some companies, the whole filter is color coded on the side. It's not just some thin little line or something like that. It's just so easy to find. And if you've watched my videos for a while, you know I'm a big one on efficiency because you want your tools to get out of the way. If your tools can stay out of the way, frees your mind up to be more creative. And Maven's been really great both from a technical quality perspective as well as just really making my life easier out in the field. So Maven filters is what I use. I've done lots of videos on these. That's the main bits of camera equipment, right? But of course I've got some accessories. I try to keep most of my accessories in some form of tech pouch, and this is just a small little Mystery Ranch tech pouch. I've had it for quite a while. It's just the right size in my opinion. It sort of keeps me honest. If it starts to overfill this bag, I'm starting to think I might not need everything in here. So I like the bag size. There's no dividers inside or anything. So we're just going to sort of randomly go with what we get out of here. Little baby rocket blower. This is for if you're in the field and you're changing or you notice some dust. It's real fast. Just do this out in the field. You know, shelter the camera and you can blow the sensor off. Handy for that. Or blowing water off the front of the lens or blowing dust off the front of the lens, anything like that. So keep a little rocket blower in there. I keep a remote shutter release with me. I really actually use self-timer or exposure delay way more. But one day I know I'm going to find myself next to some seashore or someplace with waves or someplace where I'm really trying to time the shot as opposed to having to press and wait 2 seconds. So I keep it with me, but I don't use it very often. Batteries. Always have spare batteries. These happen to be the small rig batteries that I've been using. They have the handy dandy little USB-C charging port right there. This allows me not to have to take an external charger. I can just plug a USB-C cable in here and it charges the battery. I've been using these. I've lost track. I want to say I started to switch to them around the last time, so probably almost a year. So that means they've seen cold weather, rainy weather, and I've had no problems with them. I'm the first to admit I'm a little reluctant to use third-party batteries in my cameras, and I do still carry OEM batteries with me just in case. But these have been super useful, super handy. Done videos on them to be aware of, but I use those for backup batteries. And if it's a bigger trip, I have tons of batteries I take with me. Just other Nikon batteries I've accumulated over the years. Little lens cleaning wipes. These are just Zeiss lens wipes. Just keep those handy. I try to keep those everywhere. I try to make it so that like you can't go somewhere and not find them. I've got a little wrist strap, which is if I'm happen to be perched near a precarious edge or something like that, and I'm nervous about my camera on the tripod, I can clip this to my camera. It uses a Peak Design. It's a Peak Design wrist strap, and then I can attach this to something else. So if something were to happen, something were to fall, I had a case once where it was a different ball head than I use these days, but a camera popped off of it, almost went into the water, and now if I need to, I have a little leash to sort of help keep it safe. Don't use it very often, but I've got it. This cable really doesn't need to be there, but it could be used with the batteries, USB-A on this side, USB-C on this side, but it's made its way into its pack. A couple extra plates to attach to tripods. These are mainly for workshops, or if I happen to grab a camera and forget to, for some reason don't have an L bracket on it. Most often it's for if I have someone on a workshop and maybe I'll loan them a tripod, let them see what like an FLM tripod or what a geared head feels like. They don't always have an L bracket or an Arca Swiss. This is comes in handy to make sure everything's still good there. And a couple little tools. I got a Leofoto multi-tool thing here. It's got the little screwdriver, a couple different size Allen keys on there. You can carabiner clip it to stuff. I've got them in a couple different places. And then just, this is a 3-legged thing. This particular side of the Allen wrench fits one of the brackets I use a little better, so I keep it around. That's pretty much my accessories I carry into the field for the most part. I do have a couple of other things stuffed in here. Microfiber cloths. I like these larger Zeiss microfiber cloths. Used these extensively in the Smokies when it was raining, trying to keep things dry. I would have them in my jacket pockets. I don't think I could grab a jacket and not have this cloth with me, so I keep these around. Those are my main accessories that I take. That's really, for the most part, what goes inside my core unit. Now, I have not talked about my video gear. Actually, let me clean this up a bit. Let's talk just real quickly on my YouTube video audio gear and some of my flexibility on how I swap things around. Okay, before we get into some of the pockets of the camera bag, I do try to keep things flexible. I have YouTube video audio gear. I still do in the field YouTube videos, so I have that gear. But over time, I learned there's a lot of times I'm carrying that stuff around and I'm not making a video. And it just adds to the weight of the camera bag. And I finally got to the point, you know, I should be a little more careful and only carry what I need. It'll just give me more energy when I'm out in the field and the whole bit. So I have a few other things. I keep a lot of my video gear. I should probably do this in a better way, but it's just a little pouch. I a lot of times keep it in the Forerunner so I can see it, especially if I'm traveling. And I've got video gear. I got my Pocket 3 that I use a lot. I've got audio gear. I've got my Action 4 for when it's rainy and things. I got my mic. And then in this pouch, this is sort of more than just audio video gear, but I've got another microphone, some little spare parts for like the action cameras, and just little odds and ends like that in here. I've got this little guy that fits to a tripod to help me. I can get a camera mounted on there and do in the field stuff. But I just got tired of carrying it in my bag all the time. I used to carry it in there all the time, and I just got a little tired of that. And so I started separating it out. So it's sort of like if I'm doing video, I know I need to grab this and probably fit it up here above the core unit. Up in here is where it would usually go. And it just has helped me keep the bag a little lighter than normal. So that's been helpful. And then I don't want to skip over it. I don't really carry this stuff out into the field, but I do keep it with me in the Forerunner, or if I'm going to a hotel or any kind of travel or anything like that. And that's just my tech pouch. This is the tech pouch I have. It's a Peak Design tech pouch. Worth every penny. Really like it. I held off on getting one of these for a while because they were a bit on the pricey side. I think I got this on sale last holiday season, and it's been great. And this is where I do still keep an external battery charger just in case my USB-Cs don't work right. I keep power accessories. This is where I keep my extra memory cards in here. I've got card readers for making backups on the road in here. I've done videos on how to do backups on the road, but it's got everything like that. It just doesn't go in the camera bag with me into the field. This is more like stays at home base, whether home base be the Forerunner, hotel room, or the house, depending on that. So I do have that. Let's see. Let's talk flexibility real quick. I was going to talk about this towards the end, but I think it fits in better now because I just sort of showed you some of my other flexible pieces. So when I'm going out and I'm doing a hike, I will gauge how long of a hike is it, how difficult of a hike is it, and what focal lengths do I plan on using. And there are times where I'm in environments that, like say, I've got Ohio lungs. So if I go to a place with elevation, I am probably going to need to make some decisions on, am I really taking everything, or am I going to sort of really trim things down so that my Ohio lungs breathing at higher elevation stand a chance of actually making it to where I want to go. And in those situations, I'll think, what focal length do I want to do? There was one time in Arizona where it was very, very hot. I knew I was going to be doing elevation, and I went with just one lens because I figured to optimize my chance of getting to where I wanted to go without all the extra weight. In that case, it was actually the 24 to 120 that I took. Paired it with the Nikon Z7 II. I can crop in pretty heavily, so that actually gets me a fair amount of reach. I felt like 24 would be wide enough. And so when that happens, these things will stay behind. The 100 to 400 would come out, the 14 to 30 would come out, and I don't even think I took a spare camera body on that. I might have relied on using a video camera, but I really trimmed the pack down. And I think it's important to remember that. Just because this is my standard load doesn't mean you're stuck with it or have to use it. I was in West Virginia this past, about a month ago. And I did this one descent, super short, but it was super, super, super steep. And I didn't want to have my whole camera bag pulling on me. And I pared it down to a camera, a lens, and a tripod and headed down that way. There's another situation I just recently only went with. Smokies. I was in sort of a tight stream area, and I didn't think my 100-400 was going to add a whole lot of value, even though I love that lens. And I pulled it out. It's a heavy lens. It takes up a lot of space, and it's heavy. If I can take this out of my pack magically feels lighter. And at the end of a long day where I really don't think I'm probably going to use the 100-400, it's a good opportunity to take it out. So my whole packing strategy, I've showed you what is my standard carry, but I can always add a little bit more. Like if I'm doing YouTube video, I'm adding video and audio gear, and I can always take some stuff out. So if I'm trying to keep things light, I will take things out so I can keep the pack nice and light. So remember to be flexible no matter what you go with. It's okay to change that standard. In fact, I consider my carry very flexible because if I take it as is, it has everything I need, but I can pair it up or pair it down and get to just what I want for that particular trek. Okay, and we're just about wrapping up here. Well, that's most of the camera gear, but sometimes people are curious, what are the extras you got, right? What are the extras? So let's just zip this thing back up. Sometimes it's a mystery. I'm not always the greatest at remembering exactly where I put stuff. I try to be consistent, but I'm not always consistent. But let's take a look here. So I got a couple pouches. This is the flex space, right? And there's a couple different ways in it. There's a zipper thing here. We can get into it. And this is where I'll have like my first aid kit. This is a pretty decent sized first aid kit. I even have some extras thrown in there, but leading workshops, I like to have options to help people out on the while we're out there. So toss that in there. This flex space can take extra food. It can take down jackets, whatever. It's super nice to have that flex space. In here, several little pockets. Probably the most important thing in here is my headlamp. I have tons of headlamps. My Forerunner, I literally hang them from different parts of the Forerunner. But I also stick one in my camera bag because you just never know when you're going to be out a little later than you thought, or the morning's going to be a little darker than you thought if you're out there way before sunrise. So I have this Petzl headlamp that I keep in there, and I always know it's in there just for those situations. I never have to worry about being out after dark. A couple other little random things in here. National park permits. You probably don't need to worry about those, but workshops and national park permits. Toss that down there. This is the toilet paper kit. It is just in case you're ever out and you really need to go. It has just some toilet paper, hand sanitizer, a litter bag, wet wipes. Just super thin, super handy. It's just in case. You just never know, right? And then the other little thing I carry in here is a compass. I don't have the paper map in here, but I'm old school. Yes, I rely on modern phone electronics, Gaia, GPS for offline maps. But if I'm really somewhere remote, even places like the Smokies, things like that, I will put a paper map in here. And if the electronics have gone bad, or I get separated from my electronics, or the water or the weather damages them, I've always got a good old-fashioned compass and a paper map to figure my way out. I come from an era when that's how you figured everything out. So I keep that in there. I think that is just about it. This pocket here on the Shimoto, I can stuff a down jacket into here. I use it for that quite frequently. I tend to wear down jackets as my insulators because they're super stuffable. So it helps me with that layered approach and stuff in. Pull stuff out. I always have a dangly on my camera bag. My wife used to make me crochet ones. She still does. I've got them on some of my camera bags. This one is the little Buc-ee's mascot. The irony of that is I don't like Buc-ee's. I actually hate Buc-ee's. But my family wanted to see it one time. Or it's more like I had to show it to them so they could understand why I didn't like it. And they bought me this. And so now he goes along with me on my camera bag. So yeah, that's the camera bag tour. I really can't believe I made it this long on the YouTube channel and didn't have one. I'm really surprised. I guess my flying with camera gear video is probably close, but it's been quite a while since I've done that video. I will link to it down below because there are some handy tips in there if you're flying with camera gear. But this is my standard carry when it's regional. Like I said, I will link to the products that are in this camera bag. A good chunk of those links will be affiliate links. Affiliate links are where if you click through the link and purchase something from that website, I will get a small cut at no extra cost for you, but it really does go a long way to help support the channel. And I'll also put links to other videos videos that talk about some of the gear in here, camera bodies, lenses, filters, anything else I think is relevant, I will put down in the description below. So if I've talked about something or I showed something and you're like, I want to know more about that, I've probably done a video on it and there'll be links down in the video below. So hopefully you found this video helpful. I know what's in my camera bag videos aren't for everybody, but I enjoy watching them and I enjoyed making this video. Hopefully you got some value out of it. What am I missing? What should I have in my camera bag? Let me know down in the comments below. I'll also link to a couple more videos I think you might find helpful if you want to check those out. And thank you for watching.